A very good evening and welcome once again to Terrace Talk on this Bank Holiday Monday in June. And tonight's show, well, we'll be looking back as the weekend action of our Kerry senior footballers who took on Clare in Ennis. Well, it was a tough second half, but tonight we have former Clare manager in studio, and we'll be speaking to a number of lads involved with Clare as well. Of course, Michael Considine will be coming up later in the programme. Of course, he's involved with the Clare underage development squad, and well, he'd know a lot about Kerry and of course a lot about Clare and especially Kilmurray Ibricken. And later on in the second hour, we'll be speaking to Dermot Ling, of course, the former Wexford hurler as well, and Joe Gary of Clare FM. We'll be speaking to him later in the programme. And, of course, to all our Liverpool supporters out there, we want to congratulate them. I see here in the studio tonight there's a number of jerseys, Liverpool jerseys, and well, the head of sports here is still excited about that great win in the Champions League, Mr. Joe O'Mahony, and well, more than once he's told me about that great victory on Saturday evening. So many congratulations to everyone involved, and even a Man United supporter here tonight, I'm saying well done. Well, tonight we also look back at the different happenings and the different topics, because Irish rugby bosses, of course, have launched an investigation after it was alleged that a Leinster player urinated on the leg of a man in a pub last weekend. The incident is alleged to have happened while Leinster rugby players were celebrating the province's Pro 14 title win last Sunday, and a member of the public was in a packed pub in the Dublin centre last Sunday during the celebrations, which the incident is said to have happened. And well, in the statement by the IRFU, they said it condemns any anti-social behaviour. And our question for our listeners tonight is there a lot of that happening with players and people involved in sport, celebrating, I suppose, a big win and an anti-social behaviour out there? And well, it's definitely creeping in. And well, if that, I'm sure after that investigation, we can't prejudge. I'm sure there's a due process in this, but I suppose there's no smoke without fire. And if you were at any of those games the weekend, be it if you were even at the Champions League, I'm sure you were watching it or listening to commentary on Radio Kerry, or were at the in-game in Ennis. And of course there was hurling games yesterday. Well, we wouldn't mind hearing from you tonight. You can call us on 066 7123 666, text on 083 300 3300, also on WhatsApp, Terrace Talk on Facebook, or tweet at Terrace Talk RK, Terrace Talk at Radio Kerry. .ie. And I have the former Clare manager in studio. Of course, he's managed underage teams in Kerry as well, played with Kerry, 3 All-Ireland senior medals by him, the SD man, John Kennedy. You're very welcome once again to Terrace Talk.
Thank you, Tim.
First of all, John, we must mention last night we shared a stage together back in camp, and it was on to honour two great men, Dr. Sean Murphy, the former Kerry great. Of course, he made the team of the century, the team of the millennium, and won his 3 All-Ireland senior medals in 53, 55 and 59. Of course, he won an All-Ireland junior before he won a minor medal, but Tommy Doyle, of course, 7, a man you played with, 7 All-Ireland senior football medals. It was one great night.
It was a super night, Tim, and great credit due to the Camp Community Council and all the workers there. You know, the organisation was brilliant. The atmosphere was fantastic, and you know, the minute you went inside the door, you felt you were made feel welcome. And what a night to honour 2 great men. I was honoured myself to meet Sean Murphy. It was the first time I met him personally. Really lovely man, and some stories, like, you know, it was a great night, and well done to yourself. It was, you know, there was chat, I suppose, for nearly 2 hours, and there was you'd hear a pin drop, and it was you know, the pride of the community and the pride of the small place and the small club. It really came through last night, and well done to everyone concerned, and a great night for both Tommy and Sean.
And quite emotional as well at times. A lovely piece of footage from the 59 All-Ireland final. You know, that was the intro to the whole night, and likewise the piece on I suppose that great speech by the late Paddy O'Shea in 85, where he was handing over the baton to the 86 captain Tommy Doyle. And well, I tell you, the hairs that stand in the back of your neck after that presentation.
Absolutely, like, it was a proud night for all concerned in the area, because they were honouring two of their own and two legends of the game. And you know, to Sean, like, was man of the match in 59, and Tommy lifting the cup in 86, and they were proud moments. And you know, there was a lot of emotion around the room, around the hall, and there was a lot of tears shed because it was their own people coming back home, and they were honouring them, and really well done to them. And I think it shows the strength of the GA. The club is the heartbeat, and the small clubs particularly, they're the heartbeat of the GA. That was quite evident last night, and it was something I really enjoyed, and it was an honour to be there.
And one great statement, we won't dwell too long more on it, but I thought by Sean Murphy said that he had to travel away and come back, and it's just now his, I suppose, link with the local community means so much. And to him, last night, he said it was one of the best nights of his life. And coming from a man that made the team of the century, the team of the millennium, and won the Texaco Award, and one of the greatest players of all time, from a local point of view, that was a brilliant result, even that statement by him.
Absolutely, Tim, and like Simi Holland, Hurtig been there, the great Mick O'Dwyer came up from Waterville, and some of the other lads, Sean Welsh, Ambrose O'Donovan, just it was fantastic to be there, and to honour two great men. And
the great Mick O'Dwyer was sitting, I was having a chat with him, and the next thing he came through the door, Tommy Doyle, and there Mick O'Dwyer stood up, and Tommy Doyle was coming through the door, and the two of them hugged. It was a real poignant moment, and one man said to the other, I'd have won nothing without you, and I think that summed up the whole night. So heartiest congratulations to both, two great men, two great camp men, I suppose. First of all, they were camp men, then West Kerry men, and then Kerry men, but last night was a brilliant night. Well done to all. John, we have to speak about Kerry at the weekend. First of all, conditions quite poor on the night, which I suppose wasn't conducive to free-flowing football.
Yeah, the rain fell, Tim, and the pitch was in immaculate condition, but it was slippery. It was a tricky game for Kerry always. It was always a test going up to Cusack Park. We all expected Kerry to win. And I think the game earlier on, it took that pattern that we were in control, particularly the first 20 minutes. We created 3 or 4 goal scoring chances. Should have Shawnee Shea hit the post after a great move, should have been put away. Paul Gainey had it after another great move. Paul just kicked wide with his left. It was the signs were there that we were on top. And then when David Moran got black carded, he was a big loss. He was moving really well, winning possession around the middle, and he was dictating what was happening there. And James O'Donoghue, who was firing in all cylinders, he was really buzzing, he looked really sharp. James had to depart the scene also, we think due to a hamstring strain or hamstring injury. Those guys were a huge loss, and at half time, Tim, it looked really comfortable. Clare were rudderless, really. They weren't competing with us, and people were saying it's only a matter of how much we'll win by.
Yeah, it was 1-9 to 3 points.
9 to 3 points. But the second half took on a different, totally different.
Yeah, that's something we will talk about after this break. And of course, the station, of course, is running a promotion aimed, I suppose we want our listeners to listen longer. And of course, anyone who enters a competition on Radio Kerry on any show over the month will be in with a chance to win €1,000. That's nice. That'd be nice pocket money. And all we have to say is keep listening to Radio Kerry to have a chance to win. We'll take our first break of the evening.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie, leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk as we look back at the weekend in sport, and especially that game between Clare and Kerry played at Ennis on Saturday evening. John Kennedy, you mentioned that coming up to half time and that huge advantage by Kerry. Was it strange that Gary Brennan, who I suppose put in a man of the match performance in the second half, that he started playing, he was on the 40. What do you think the reason was?
It's hard to figure it out, Tim. I obviously Colin Collins and his men had a tactical. They made some positional switches. They had 4 changes in personnel. What that was about, I don't really know, because obviously they had their team selected. But putting Gary Brennan to the 40, Owen Cleary out to the wing, and I think it upset Clare more than Kerry. And Gary Brennan is one of the best midfielders in the country. You put him in his best position and let him last there as long as he will. And we saw in the second half when he went there, he totally bossed the game. We couldn't win our own kickouts. He was winning them or he was breaking them. He dictated what was happening there, and he really had a huge influence on the game.
But for the limited amount of ball he was getting in the 40, every ball he put in, it was sticking.
Oh, sticking, yeah.
And he was causing, even when he was in the 40, he was causing a certain amount of problems for Kerry.
He was, there's no doubt. He's a very good footballer, and he brings other players into it. He's very unselfish. He's great vision on the ball, and certainly he was a handful for us. And likely also Cathal O'Connor. You know, we were under pressure in the middle of the field, him, and particularly after David Moran's black card, which to me, you know, from where we were, it was controversial, and speaking to people afterwards, you know, it was very harsh.
And the referee made the signal that he used his own foot to show what David had done. Looked like that David kicked across the player. That's what it seemed to us, the way he. But I'd say a lot of people were thought it was a bit harsh, the David, and a huge loss to Kerry. The Kerry selection. David Moore and Adrian Spillane in the middle of the field. Jack Barry must be injured. Was that a surprise then? There was Adrian. Of course, Adrian has played there in the league.
Yeah, he has. It was a surprise, you know. I felt maybe that if Jack was out, maybe Diarmuid Connor would have gone midfield, like, because he impressed me the last night from wing
forward. He was
forward.
very good in the first
very
half.
good in the first half. He's a guy which maybe the physical power and that and that bit of experience to have David in. But Adrian Spillane, it was a big night for him. He did reasonably well in the first half, but in the second half we didn't get ball in the middle of the field. Look, you have to try, guys. Obviously Paul Murphy and Peter Crowley were a huge loss to us, and I think Crowley's loss will be sorely missed throughout this campaign, because he's a teak tough defender, and we need one or two of those in there, and Peter was sadly missed last night.
Yeah, we'll talk about that physicality later on. Tyg Morley and Jack Showers, like I say, Jack Shower was centre back, Tyg Morley full back, and left half back Shane Enright. Was strange that he was selected in the half back line, Shane?
Yeah,
because
Shane.
he played the majority of, I suppose, his years involved with Kerry. It's been always in the full back line.
Yeah, that's right. Shane is a defender more than an attacking, and it was a strange one to see him wing back. He's renowned as a corner back, but you'd have to say that Tyg Morley and Jason Foley came out of the game the last night, you know, with the box tick. Really, they did well. You know, they were under pressure. Clare were kicking a lot of ball in. Maybe not the best of ball going in, but Bohannon in there was a handful. But I think they acquitted themselves well, and Jason got a vital point, you know, to steady the ship late on. He fisted the ball over the bar. You know, I'd have been happy with the display of the two lads.
The first half, John, you said it there, you know, this game could have taken another lease of life if Kerry were to capitalise on those goal scoring opportunities. I think Paul Ganey had one chance, actually. It was a great vision by David Clifford, but you would have to say in that first half, the movement of the Kerry forwards, and I suppose you have to win ball in the middle of the park, they were doing quite well.
Oh, they were, Tim. The movement was very good. The ball going in was snappy. You know, they were winning it. They were creating space, and they had the Clare defenders in serious trouble. You know, they were really, really working hard. Could have been out of sight at half time, but hindsight, look at it. Is it a good thing that we didn't get those, and that there were questions asked of us again? Because, you know, I was behind Ambrose and yourself in the commentary, and the pressure was on. They were coming at us in waves. We were down to 13 men for the last 6 or 7 minutes, and you know, there was one particular high ball went in to Bohannon that Shane Ryan, he fisted the ball about 21 metres out. Had that gone in, you know, it would have been nail biting in the last few minutes. I don't think we were ever going to lose the game, but you know, there was certainly questions asked. Players were tried in different positions, and I think Peter Keane, his management team, will have learned a lot. But Tim, the main thing is we went up to Cusack Park to get to a Munster final. We got there. Whether you win by 1 or 20, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, very true. Those texts come out through to us. Hi Tim, Peter Keane has a lot to do with the Kerry team. Cork will beat them in the Munster final. Cork are playing good football at the moment. Ooh, that's could be controversial, maybe that statement. I'm sure there's Kerry people believe that we're going to win it. Hi Tim, the number of injuries Kerry have is a bit of a worry. It's a pity to see James O'Donoghue get injured again. Yeah, he's so unlucky with injuries, and I enjoyed Liverpool winning. And that comes from Charles. You'll never walk alone, it says. Now, a record was set in Cusack Park last Saturday evening, and to our listeners, can you guess what that was? And here's a hint. It relates to one of the Kerry players. Send in your guess now and we'll reveal the answer later on the show. Do you know what we probably don't even know what the question is going to be about, but there was a record, and it was by a Kerry player last Saturday evening. And for our listeners out there, rather than speaking in riddles, and I don't want to give too much away, but it was set, and anybody that has a lot of stats or a lot of records over the years probably will have their finger on the pulse. John, going in at half time, would Peter Keane be quite happy with that first half display?
He would, Tim. You know, they kicked 1-9. We were 1-9 to 3 points up. As you said, we were creating great space up front. Our forwards were moving well. We were coping well with what Clare had to throw at us. You know, and we were doing okay in the middle of the field. There was a lot of positives. There were people been asking in the press box, what can Clare do? Like, how would you come out in the second half facing into that against a team like Kerry that had given them a hammering last year? And certainly they showed their mettle. There's great character in some of those Clare guys, and they came out in the second half and took the game to Kerry. And really, I think it was something that we needed as well, Tim.
Yeah, and with that, we'll see from the Clare side now, because I should have a man from Clare FM on the line, of course, and that should be Joe Gary. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Tim. Hello, John.
You're very welcome here to Terrace Talk. Look, there's a lot of talk after the weekend about Kerry, you know, the first half performance and the character that Clare showed in the second half, because if you were to look at possession-wise in the second half, Joe, it's definitely the Clare players that came out on top, because Gary Brennan and likewise Cathal O'Connor, they had stormers in the second half.
That's a fair comment, yeah. I have to agree with that. I thought the Clare lads, you know, acquitted themselves very well in the second half. But we've kind of come to expect, you know, there's no questions really about the character of the side. And, you know, over the last number of years, players like Gary Brennan, and Gary always delivers against Kerry, in fairness to him, and Cathal O'Connor, I thought Gordon Kelly. Gordon is 36 years of age and, you know, put in a tremendous display as well. So there's no questions really about the character of them. But however, from the Clare perspective, it will be very, very disappointing with the first half.
I've asked John already about it, Joe, that were you surprised that Gary Brennan lined out in the 40?
No, yeah, I think it was kind of, you know, fairly heralded here in Clare, all right, that it was. And Gary Brennan, as you know, is the type of player that could play anywhere for you. And he's the type of player that just delivers when the need is greatest for Clare, and has done over a long number of years. I thought he was excellent again on Saturday evening in the park. And, you know, he's a handful for anyone, because he's just so direct, and he's a big mobile leg kicking off left and right. He offers us a huge amount. But Sean O'Donoghue has a tremendous leap in him as well. If you remember from the very throw-in, he caught the throw-in from the start of the game, but took a knock straight away and on the side of the head. And he wasn't as influential as maybe we would have hoped he would have been, because Sean is a terrific up-and-coming footballer. So it wasn't a surprise that Gary was on the 40, but you know, Clare were always going to utilise him. We were a little bit disappointed maybe with Clare went for a long ball tactic in the first half, and that's not really our game. But you could see the aim, you know, there was a solid basis for doing it, but unfortunately from a Clare perspective it didn't work. And it's only when Clare went back to their more natural running game, kind of a manic running game that they do well when it's going well, that they caused you know, serious problems to Kerry in the second half.
Joe, was there an expectation then in the first half that you'd probably break even or win more in the middle of the field, seeing as you had the luxury of having Gary Brennan in the 40?
Well, I suppose, you know, the last number of occasions in Cusack Park, it doesn't work when we cross the Shannon, sadly, but in Cusack Park, the last number of occasions, Kerry generally don't kick the ball out on top of Brennan, for one. And, you know, that Cathal O'Connor and Sean O'Donoghue are a fair good midfield. So, you know, Clare were obviously hoping to utilise Gary on the 40, and he swept across from both wings to take ball. But it just left us a little bit, I thought Darragh Bohannon, for a young lad, was just a little bit too isolated at times. And as John alluded there, I just heard the last couple of minutes that some of the ball going in wasn't great. So it didn't work. You know, it didn't work. And Colm Collins, in fairness, didn't put up his hand straight after the game and said it just didn't work for us. So it just meant going back to what the game that Clare play best, which is running at lads and you know, a high tempo game, pushing right up on the kick out and things like that. And we got some joy from that, but you know, there was always that gap between the sides, in fairness.
We'll move to the second half. Of course, we lost David Moore in Kerry, which he's the leader of the pack at the minute, which was a huge loss to the Kingdom. But when Gary Brennan went to the midfield, Cathal O'Connor seemed to up his game as well. Likewise, Owen Cleary and likewise David Tubridy when he came on.
That's true. David was there from the word go, but David kicked a couple of sublime points. You know, really class points. I thought there. The one before half time was a terrific score. That's what David does bring to the team. But you know, from a Clare perspective, in terms of the long term, you know, that Gordon Kelly and those players you've named, Cathal O'Connor, Gary, David Tubridy, they're all around the block a while. They're all now in their 30s. Owen Cleary now and Jamie Malone, I thought, did well in the second half as well. And they are the type of players that we have to try and bring along, because we won't always have the Cathals Charles and the Garys to depend on, and Gordon, David Tuberty. But, you know, in the second half, we got some joy of it. We were slow really to get going. But I felt, you know, if the game had gone on another couple of minutes, the lead would have, the margin between the sides you wouldn't have widened. It would have come closer because Clare had the bit between their teeth. Unfortunately, with a serious injury, I know Sean O'Shea went off in the same incident, but unfortunately, Kevin Hartnett has a broken jaw after it, and a completely accidental crash. You know, but he's going to be a huge loss as well. So, you know, there's a lot of positives to take out from a Clare perspective, but ultimately, you know, I think it'll be one of frustration with our first half display.
Joe, what's your take on the Kerry side in the second half? We were under pressure.
Yes, definitely. But I mean, you'll be better off being a bit under pressure than, we'll say, Cork have gone in fairly untested into the Munster final. Whereas, you know, I know that there was always a gap between the sides in Cusack Park, but at least there was questions asked. And, you know, when Kerry were ran at, they didn't have all the answers. You know, at times we had them. You know, there was, I think we might have kicked 4 or 5, maybe 6 points on the bounce, which is you normally doesn't happen against Kerry. But that said, they were down a couple of players towards the end of the match as well. And you know, I think they'll learn a good deal from it. They'll certainly take a lot more from the game than we'll say Cork would have from the Limerick one.
What about the physicality exchanges? Did Kerry come out second best?
I don't know, but sure, I mean, it's a championship match in the park on a wet evening. It's going to be physical. You know, if it didn't physical, then we're playing it. So, you know, it was always going to be physical.
No, my point is who dominated the physical exchanges. I know it's going to happen in wet weather.
Oh, well, yes, but I thought in the first half, Kerry were allowed, you know, Kerry, we weren't close enough to Kerry. Their movement up front, in fairness, now was very, very good. And, you know, on another day, they might have a hatful of goals got, but they didn't get them, and we kept in there. In the second half, then, when Clare go into that kind of manic game that they play through the hands, and it has served us well now. We rescued a game below on the net to keep our Division 2 status at the very depth below in Terrace early in the year. And it was through that game, really, that Clare, you know, that's swarming around lads and upping the ante a little bit. And when Clare did that, you know, they took balls off Kerry that Kerry, I don't think, when they look back in the video, will be overly happy with. And
Kerry, like Clare, could have conceded those 2 goals in the first half, which would probably turn the game on its head in the sense that Kerry could run out easy winners. But Kerry probably learned a lot more about their performance with the way Clare played in the second half.
Well, you know, that's the only way I think Clare had to play it. In fairness, once they went to that game, they kept going, and Clare will keep going. In fairness, there's great characters there. There'll be, you know, no let up in that. But you know, just the margin was quite big, and often Kerry don't leave you in those games. You know, that those goal chances. I was down in Austin Snack Park only a week or two ago, and we had the goal chances and we missed them, and Kerry got half a chance and stuck in the net, and that really was the difference in the minor game that night. Whereas the last night Kerry had the goal chances, didn't take them. But unfortunately, we didn't really create a goal chance of our own, and you know, it's hard enough to beat Kerry in the best of days, but it's nearly impossible when you don't raise a green flag.
Now Clare going on the scenic route, would there be a chance of an upset or two if they got a bit of luck?
Well, you just don't know what it'll bring, you know. I mean, the chances are we will be travelling because the Division 3 or 4 teams will have home advantage, and we could draw, of course, Monaghan for Fermanagh, and you know, Kerry won't need reminding how difficult it is to get a result above Clonus. So, you know, it just depends on where we're drawn. We'd like to get a home game. We feel that there's a good run in the lads in the championship if we could get a home game, because in the park, when we get our game going, we're more than a match for most teams. So, you know, we'll need a bit of luck along the way. Kevin Hartnett's a huge loss to us, certainly. You know, with that broken jaw, and we have a couple of other injuries that haven't yet cleared up. But hopefully, the draw will be good to us, and if we get a home draw at all, you'd fancy your chances in Cusack Park.
And as you said already, you know that John Kennedy is here in studio. There was a little rumour going around the park on Saturday evening that he could be marching back into Clare to some club. Did you hear anything about that, Joe? No?
Well, John is always welcome in Clare. You know, he has plenty of connections there, and I saw him chatting with the Kilmurray lads there before the match as well. So, you know, we're keeping a very close eye on him.
Very close eye. And on that as well, that you mentioned, of course, there was a clash of heads or whatever, but Kevin Hartnett, we heard that, you know, it's a pretty serious injury from the Clare side. We want to wish him well, and it's sad to see any player being stretchered off, but you have to compliment the medics the way they dealt with it. The game was stopped for 11-12 minutes, but his welfare was of the utmost importance.
Yeah, in fairness, and I would have no great quibble with ending the referee did on the day. A couple of decisions don't go your way, certainly, but in fairness, when you have a wet ball like that, and the two lads totally committed, it was complete accidental clash. I thought Shaughnessy was more, serious. It was great to see him walk off the pitch. Unfortunately, Kevin didn't do so because they were worried about his neck and that, and obviously the jaw being broken is a huge setback. But look, it's all about playing ball and getting lads out onto the field. He's a big loss to Clare. Our strength in depth wouldn't be anywhere near what Kerry would have, but we have, as I said, a very committed bunch of players. We have an excellent manager in Colm Collins, and we just maybe need a little rub of a green, and you'd never know where the summer will take us.
Great stuff. Joe, thanks a million for coming on Terrace Talk. I'm sure we'll meet again before the summer is out. Thanks a million for coming on
Not
tonight.
a bother. Okay, take
Great
care.
stuff. Of course, that's Clare FM's Joe Gary. We'll have plenty more after this break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie. Leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. Now, John Kennedy in studio, and we've just been speaking to Joe Gary of Clare FM. And those comments are coming through to us. How does Innes stand to pass the health and safety? Only way in and out is by the outside stairs, and you can go from one section to the section inside. People are pinned in crammed seats. Congrats to Ungathuk. They won the Munster Senior Final only a short while ago in extra time. Hey guys, just wondering, any word on how Kevin Hartnett is doing? And well, we just heard it there from Joe Gary, and pretty serious injury. He broke his jaw, but hopefully we'll see that man back inside those white lines and wearing a Clare jersey sooner rather than later. Hi Tim, great show as always. Was there a record of the amount of injury time played? Well done to Kerry team and management. That comes from Katrina in Tralee. Can I just mention, I know we're going towards the end of the game now, and that injury, John, I think it happened at 31 and a half minutes of normal time in the second half.
Yes, right, yeah, around 30.
But I think it was fairly fair because he was down for 11-12 minutes then, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. And like as you said there, the medical staff and the way he was being treated, and the same with Sean Shea, because anything with the head, Tim, any serious injury, it has to be done. It's meticulous and top class. As Ambrose mentioned in the commentary, there was a female attendant in there. She was on her knees, obviously knew it was a serious injury, and every precaution was taken that was necessary to ensure that he was okay. And all we can do in Kerry is wish Kevin all the best in a speedy recovery. He actually played. He played here with the IT in Tralee, Tim,
right.
and he won a freshers. And really nice guy and a top class defender. And we hope to see him back in the playing field very soon again, because the injuries are the downside of any sport.
Comments coming through to us. They continue. Very busy tonight. What's the story with Dara Moynihan? Where was he? Still no midfielder outside of David Moran. And why are the backs going up the field as we keep getting caught? The first part of the question, Dara Moynihan, I think he's injured, the man.
I presume he's injured, Tim, yeah.
Still no midfielder outside of David Moran?
Well, I suppose, Tim,
this is the text now. It's not Tim Moynihan's.
No, it's the text, yeah. Look, it's a no-win situation for the Kerry management. If you go along with the tried and trusted, you'll be criticised. They gave Adrian Spillane his chance. Dermot Connor on the wing, and it was a difficult night.
It's what's available.
It's what's available. And to be fair to Adrian Spillane, I thought for 20 minutes of the game he did well. In the second half, the tide was flowing against us, and both himself and Mark Griffin, we found it.
And Adrian Spillane's game would be matched around David Moran as such.
Absolutely.
Then he was thrown off his.
He was thrown off his, like David has the experience, and he was holding possession around the middle, and he was allowing Adrian to go forward, and he did quite well, won a few frees, kicked a good point, and it's a learning process. And I said here a good number of weeks ago to him, league football and championship are poles apart. It's a big learning curve, and I can tell you it'll be a bigger learning curve down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh in a few weeks' time, because Cork are on a high at the moment, and this is going to be a real test.
They're tough. You're isolated tonight, John. You haven't your sidekicks with you, because the third part of that question, why are the backs going up the field as we keep getting caught?
Well, you see, Tim, it's the game has changed. It's attack. You've wing forwards coming back covering off. You've wing backs attacking. And to be fair, the last night I don't think Shane Enright and Gavin Crowley, they didn't attack that much. Gavin Crowley was tracking Gary Brennan for a lot of the game. Shane Enright was staying back around the half back line. He did go forward on a number of occasions, but I thought they would be going forward even more. But the conditions weren't conducive to it. And I think, Tim, in the first half, when we broke the tackle and released the ball in, I thought the movement of the Kerry forwards was excellent. We had Clare under serious pressure inside. The backs were finding it very difficult to stay with us. We kick 1-9. We created another 3 goal scoring chances and we didn't get them, as we've already said. And it was difficult to continue that, clear up their game, and I think we'll learn a lot from that as well, because had we come out the last night winning by 15 or 20 points, like Joe said there about Cork learned very little against Limerick. It was a cakewalk really, and you learn nothing in that kind of a victory. You actually get false pretences, and it kind of papers over the cracks.
Another comment. Hi Tim, a question. 3 or 4 players started in Innis last Saturday that couldn't get their place when Maurice Fitz was in charge. Have these players improved our chances going forward? I think it should be Eamon Fitzmaurice. Yeah.
Well, I suppose, Tim,
you paused there, John.
I paused there. I suppose, look, it's all about new management come in and they're trying new players. A lot of maybe the selection the last night was down to players not being available. You mentioned Darren Moynihan, you mentioned Paul Murphy, to name but 2. They were unavailable due to injury. James O'Donoghue going off, was David Moore on the black card. We looked at 5 or 6 of the subs the last night. Mark Griffin has been talked about as a potential midfielder. He got a chance last night in difficult conditions. So you have to try, guys. The management want to put their stamp on it, their own type of a game plan, and it'll be a different match again against Cork. But look, if you go to the same 15, you'll learn nothing. You have to see what the backup is. And the last night we tried guys in different positions. Some of them didn't work, but you look at Tyg Morley at full back. I didn't have him on my team last week. If I was asked as a full-back, I thought Jack Sherwood would be in there. I thought Tyg did really well, as did Jason Foley.
Great stuff, John. John, you're fielding those questions brilliantly tonight. They know you're on your own, but there's some high balls going in to the edge of the square for you, and I'm sure they'll continue to send those questions in after we take our next break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie. Leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
Of course, John Kennedy still with us here in the studio as we speak about the Clare versus Kerry game the weekend. John, the second half, did you expect that to happen? Because Kerry had that such comprehensive lead at half time. Could you see... could you describe it as a collapse?
Well, you could, Tim, to a certain extent, in fairness, because Clare took over. You couldn't see it coming to that extent, but Clare really took over. They dug deep, they foraged and they worked hard for everything, and they put serious pressure. They could Kerry under serious pressure. Winning our kick-outs, Tim, winning possession was difficult. We couldn't get our hands on the ball. And when we did, we were under pressure, and our shot selection, was quite poor, and the ball going into our forwards was not the best. David Clifford got a few balls in there. He was being really well marked. There was no space, and it was a real tough battle.
And it was limited amount of ball that David was getting as well, and the other Kerry forwards.
Correct, yeah. It wasn't coming in a flow, so it was sporadic, and it was difficult to get it. And scores were at premium from a Kerry point of view. But look, we weathered the storm, Tim, and it was a bit stop-start. There was a few injuries, and particularly the one we mentioned with Kevin Hartnett, it broke the momentum.
I was going to ask you that, John. How important was... Because Clare had the momentum that time. So did it serve Kerry well or serve Clare well? Because they were in a real flow at that time. That when that injury happened.
Yeah, they were in a flow, and sometimes you don't need any disruption when you're in a flow. Anything to break your momentum can be very difficult to get it back again. And I think it affected Clare's drive more than Kerry at the time. It was quite a lengthy break, and it certainly had a disruption to the game.
John, we have to speak about midfield tonight because, David Moore, we wanted him back because of his experience, and the omission or the loss of Jack Barry didn't help the cause because he'd have that experience now of playing beside David. But how are we going to address the midfield scenario? Like if we're going in against Cork and David Moore is there again, and be it Adrian Spillane, be it somebody else, that you probably have to 4 midfielders now capable of coming on doing a job for you.
Yeah.
So injuries doesn't help the Kerry cause.
No, it doesn't help it, Tim. And even aerially is one problem in the middle of the field, because you were up against 2 of the best in the country. I've said that before, in Cathal O'Connor and they're
a match for any.
They are a match for any, but they're physical. They're good ball players, and they're good kickers. You know, they'll give a game to anybody. But it's if the kickouts are going short, you need athleticism. And I said Peter Keane and his men had that in mind with Adrian Spillane. You know, David was a huge loss because he was having a huge influence in the game. If you were to look at
controlling it.
He was controlling it. If you were to look at the first 20 minutes, Jack Sherwood was in control of the centre back. You know, David was dominating the middle. Adrian Spillane was working hard. You had James O'H flying inside. David Clifford was on fire. You know, Dermot O'Connor wing forward. We were going really well. But when David went, it actually knocked us back, and his absence was huge.
And now, if you put on your headphones there, John, I should have another Clareman on the line, and it's a brilliant Clare name as well. It's Considine, and it's Michael Considine, of course, involved with the Clare underage development. And good evening, Michael.
Good evening, Tim. How are you keeping?
You're welcome.
John.
Hi, Michael.
You're welcome to Terrace Talk. Of course, Michael, you have Kerry connections.
That's right, I have, Tim. I have. The great Tommy Doyle is a first cousin of mine.
Wow, and we spent the night with him last night, John and myself, back at he was honoured by his own community, his own townland last night, himself and the great Sean Murphy, of course, of the 50s fame. And of course, the football will be in the blood then, Michael.
Oh, sure, look, that's it. I suppose coming from rural parts of Ireland, the GA is the hub, the centre of every community, and I suppose it's what we're brought up with, and we try to pass on to the next generations, Tim.
And I take it over the years, Michael, you'd have spent a nice bit of time back in the camp area, the Onascall area.
I would, yeah. Like going back there, lovely part of the country now, in fairness, there's a lovely area, and it's much similar to my own place where I come from here, in the village of Quilty. It's a seaside area as well, so there's a lot of similarities between the two areas. And
before we start speaking about the serious stuff of the game the weekend, any word on John Kennedy going up there and taking a management role with one of the clubs? Did you hear any? It was just the rumour mill was flying?
I don't think so. I think John is happy in the homestead at the moment. Sure, maybe next season we might try lure him back to Kilmurray maybe for another stint.
Yeah, he likes the Clare air, all right. Michael, your take on the game the weekend?
I suppose, Tim, look at it. It was a game of two halves. Kerry completely dominated earlier on in the first half, and at half time they had a big lead up, but Clare played well in the second half. But I suppose, looking from the outside, Clare kind of changed their game a small bit. In my view, if I know Colm Collins quite well, we worked together for years at underage, and the two county championships he won with Cratloe in football, it was based on a running game, and he kind of changed his tact a bit and went with Dara Bohannon on the edge of the square and kind of louvered ball in, and he was out round the middle, and Clare seemed a small bit lost in the first half. But in fairness, when they settled in the second half and brought the running game, I thought they troubled Kerry and got 8 out of 10 points at one stage and troubled Kerry in the second half, and I think to be food for thought for Peter Keane and his management team going forward.
Michael, were you surprised that Clare persisted with the long ball when it wasn't, the Kerry backs, to be fair to them, in that first half were mopping up all that breaking ball and clearing their lines?
Oh, they were, in fairness. As I said to you, to the game that Clare wouldn't really have played, and maybe a small bit surprising if they were going to try it. They might have Gary Brennan put in the edge of the square and maybe left the two inside forwards there. When Keane or D came out, that left Kerry with a spare defender as well, and then he breaks, and it was a sloppery all evening. And you're not going to win a whole lot of primary possession in an evening like that, even with a big man in the edge of the square. That's fine evening football, and it's always going to break, and there's going to be a nudge, so it was going to be very hard to see that working for Clare on the evening.
The second half then, the game was certainly turned in his head as far as Kerry not winning the amount of possession they did in the first half. Was that a surprise to you?
It was, and I think David Moran was a big loss to Kerry in fairness, which to me was harsh enough black card, just because the referee has got to allow for conditions and it was slippery enough and just seemed a small bit harsh. But look, it was a tonic for Clare, and in fairness, in that period up to half time, Adrian's landed very well. But I think Clare, when Gary came out to the middle of the field again, he brought a bit of solidarity there, and Cathal O'Connor stepped up to the mark a bit then as well, and Clare got on top. So definitely Gary coming to the middle of the field was a big plus for Clare.
And I suppose the big thing, possession-wise, and we know how good a footballer Gary Brennan, but we said it earlier in the programme, Michael, that I thought other players, when he came into that leadership role in the middle of the park, Cathal O'Connor upped his game, likewise Owen Cleary, and we know what David Tubridy and the likes of Jamie Malone, they really ran at Kerry.
They did, yeah, that's what I was saying to you. Even Cullum, in fairness, has done an absolutely super job with Clare, along with Declan Downs and Enda Coughlin. They have a super job done with Clare, in fairness, but it's built on the running game. That's the game Cullum likes to play, the best ball in hand and run at teams and hurt them. And when they've done that in the second half, that's when Clare played their better football, and that's a system that seems to suit Clare, not the long ball. And as you said, when Gary's a spiritual leader, in fairness, he's been Clare's best player over the last 10 years. Look, he'd make any team in Ireland. I think he would anyway. And in fairness, when he performs, the other lads just seem to rise around him and go with him.
John Kennedy, you want to come in there?
Michael, I suppose, would it be true to say that the changes that Colin made, switches and that, it kind of helped Kerry more than Clare, that, you know, the natural, as you said, Gary in the middle and Owen Cleary in the 40 and Tuberty in the corner, like it, the switches and the change of game plan, it seemed to upset Clare, particularly in the first half, and when they went back then, it in their natural habitat, they really took the game on. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, John. I think maybe the Clare management saw maybe a bit of a weakness in the Kerry backline that is perceived to be there. But in fairness, to be fair, the Kerry full backline were excellent in the evening now, to be fair. But I suppose they thought that the high ball in might cause them a bit of problems. As I said to you earlier, John, I just don't think it was an evening for that. That's a fine evening that you'll be able to get clean ball into your hand, and a wet ball, it's very hard when ball is going direct. And it's a thing. I think it did give Kerry the lead. But look, that's not the first time it's happened. We played the running game 2 years ago in the park, and Kerry built up a big lead as well before Clare got into the game. You've got to start against Kerry, and especially the bigger teams. You've got to stay with them. If you give them a lead, you're going to struggle, because, like, be realistic, at half time the game was over. The game was over. Like, you were out of it, and it took a spirited performance, as you said, a rejigging by Clare to get them back into it. So yeah, look, we probably would have taken it before the game. We got an awful trouncing last year below in Killarney. We got absolutely hockeyed by 22 points. So a 6-point victory, I think 6-point defeat for Clare will give us some bit of hope going into the qualifiers that we can go on a bit of a run and maybe have a shot at getting into the Super 8s.
Michael, looking over to the Kerry side of things, alarm bells, somebody might say, with that second half performance. Cork going about their work quietly, and the other side beat a Limerick side, which was probably expected. I take it they won't fear Kerry?
I don't think they will, but I'd still have Kerry as favourites. Tim, I definitely would. Look, definitely I would have Kerry as favourites. Kerry will be worried. Peter Keane will be worried about the second half performance. But you think back to last year, Kerry trounced Clare by 22 points. Did it do them any good going forward? I don't know. Maybe they'll learn more by only winning by 6 points, and there's still question marks. Are Kerry going to have to pack their defence? Are they going to have to try get someone else, get Jack Barry back around the middle of the field, maybe play third midfield, play with two inside? Because Kerry have the Portland. The one thing Kerry have very excellent kickers of the ball, and if Kerry can get quality ball into their forwards, they'll hurt anyone. But they've got to be compact at the back. Now, in saying that, a slobber evening again, as I said, Kerry could have 5 goals in the first half of the last day, and nobody could have any complaints. They only got 1. So, but I personally think should maybe look at a 2-man inside full forward line, packed midfield, try win the breaks and get quality ball in. I think they have a great chance.
Now, you look at Clare going into the qualifiers. Kerry will be going down the route as vying for being provincial champions. Is something has surfaced at the moment, the 2 or 3 tier championship. Do you think that would help the likes of the Clares of this world, Watfords, the Limericks? We're talking about the Munster. Or would you prefer it remain the same?
No, I 100% agree with the tier championship. Tim, to be honest, I just see it. I'm involved with the Clare under 15s myself this year now, and it's a different run competition. Normally, it's a Munster Blitz that's ran at 14 level, and it was at 15 and 16. But this year now, we are in a group of 4. We're in with Tipperary, we have Carlow and Wicklow, and we have a great chance. We have 3 points on the board after 2 games. We have a great chance of getting to the last 8 of the All Ireland. Whereas if we are facing the Corks and the Kerrys every year, we're going to struggle to come out because they're superpowers. We don't have the resources. I think maybe we have 20 football clubs in Clare. We just don't have. We're looking at pulling 2 and 3 players from every club. Whereas in Kerry, you can maybe get 1 from each, and you still have a big pick. So this year it's structured that way. In the team I'm involved, it's brilliant. Like we played Wicklow in the first round. I don't ever think to ever play Wicklow in a competitive game in Gaelic football before. So it's brilliant. So I think a tier championship definitely would suit. How they're going to do it is, maybe are they going to put the Division 1, 2, 3. I think Kieran Donaghy had a structure there that could quite work. It looked, he explained it out, I seen it there on the internet, and it looked as if something could work. But definitely, smaller counties going out getting big beatings, that's not going to promote football. It's definitely not. Even if you look at this year, the under-17 competition, our Clare under-17 team this year got 6 games. If that was other years and we had to go down to Tralee to play Kerry, we'd be paid £30. But this year we were competitive because we had so many games played.
Yeah, I might bring John Kennedy in on that. John, you managed down in Clare. Would you be of the same cloth as Michael, that maybe that is the way to go, because it's deja vu every year, the same thing is happening, trouncing by the bigger teams?
There's no doubt, Tim, I'd agree with Michael. I think that, if you're putting every effort in to a championship game and you're playing one of the top guns and you get hammered, it's very difficult to regroup and come back after it. It's how they do it, Tim. I would be in favour of it. It's how they do the system. I always thought maybe a Champions League style programme would be good, that the top 2 in each would go into the last 16 and the bottom 2 would go into a second competition. But it certainly needs to be looked at and it needs to be discussed, and I think the profile of the second tier competition has to be on a par with the Sam Maguire series, otherwise it will not work. It cannot be seen as a secondary or a B competition in any derogatory way, because you need it to be attractive and you need it to be...
And the teams can progress out of it. If
correct.
They win it, they can go in with the big boys.
Correct, yes, because that's what it's all about. And the national leagues are really competitive. We have some great games in all divisions up to the final and including the final, and it's because teams are on a level par and they're even. That's why you have good football. There's no hammerings.
Great stuff. Michael, we'll have to let you go. Thanks a million for coming on, and the best luck to Clare on their route, and let's hope we'll be chatting again before the season is out. Thanks a million.
No bother, Tim. Thank you. Thanks. Bye, John.
That's Michael Considine, of course the first cousin of the great Tommy Doyle, and he knows his football, this man, of course, involved with underage development in Clare. We now take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie. Leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. I have John Kennedy in studio. In a moment we'll be speaking to the young goalkeeper, that's Tomás McIntyre. But first of all, of course, the festival of the hurling camogie, that is Fela, is coming to the southwest this Friday, Saturday and Sunday, the 7th, 8th, 9th of June. Cork and Kerry are hosting this year, and all the Kerry's 12 hurling clubs and 4 camogie clubs are hosting teams. Semi-finals and finals will be played in the Sunday. All these games will be hosted at venues throughout Cork. In total, Kerry will host 60 games within the county, and the competition itself will see 256 teams, 6,150 players, 768 trainers, over 200 referees, 600 games between 5 p.m. On Friday and 5 p.m. on Sunday. The logistics and that, but I know that the Kerry people, they will pull it off, and hopefully it'll be a great occasion. Of course, on a sadder note, just on Twitter from Kieran Donaghy, he said, the great Jackie Power, we laid him to rest today, was so good to me as a youngster, even kept me up front of his bus so I wouldn't be missing, was with me all the way underage with the Rockies, a club legend. R.I.P. Jackie. And just a quick word on that by you, John. We were at the funeral, a sad occasion, and he was a great character, great footballer, of course, brother of Ger and son of the great Limerick man, Jackie Power. But a sad day for Tralee, sad day for Kerry.
Sad day, Tim. A great Rocky, a great GA man, and a great GA family. And sad scenes in St Brendan's Church this morning, and poignant scenes there, and great stories. And it's a legend of the Rock has gone, and all we can say is to Noreen and her family, and to Ger and the entire Power family, pass on our condolences.
Yeah, we sincerely do. And now, of course, there was some great football action in West Kerry over the weekend with the Comórtas. There was a success for Gaeltacht. They won the senior final a short while ago, and fresh, I suppose, coming out of the dressing rooms, we should have Tomás McIntyre. Of course, he was the netminder for Gaeltacht. Good evening, Tomás.
Hi Tim, how are you?
First of all, congratulations.
Thanks a million.
Outside of winning the final, I take it was a successful event held in our own West Kerry.
Yeah, just I suppose stepping away from inside the white lines. I suppose everything that went on around the place was a massive effort from everyone involved with the club to organise such a big event. There was a lot of teams coming from various counties and a lot of accommodation, and you're kind of sorting out food, and it's a big old operation. So there were a lot of credit, and I suppose winning this evening is I suppose a little bit of a bonus for them.
And of course, a lot of these clubs around, be it the coast, be it up in Donegal, they would have a lot of guys involved with counties during during the competition, and a lot of these players would be household names.
Yeah, even today, you know, if there's anyone watching it today, they saw, you know, one of the McHughes was playing, and one of the McBreartys, and Michael Hegarty was playing for Donegal for many of the year, and you know, he hasn't lost it either. You know, and a lot of good players, a lot of senior clubs, and even the crowd that we played today were Donegal senior champions 2 years ago. You know, so they're very good standard and good teams.
How did teams cope with the windy west at times, and even the games in Gallerus? It's a tough place to go for Kerry teams, never mind to be outside of Kerry.
Yesterday was a funny one, all right. I weren't too impressed with the wind coming in from the sea, but it kind of died down a bit today. Yesterday the wind was very, very strong. I suppose the teams who weren't really too used to it found it very hard, but we played Dingle, and Dingle will be very well used to it, so that didn't really bother them too much. But yeah, it's hard for them, but you know, same for everyone, I suppose.
Tomas, for the final itself, had you access to your own Kerry players, Brino Biogli and Tomas O'Shea?
Yeah, they were. I don't know who was in discussions with Peter, you know. And firstly, I'd like to say thanks to him, because only for the two boys, we would have been under pressure. And they played a half each, and they played the extra time then as well. And their contribution was huge. Like Brian won the last kick out there, and the ball went down the field, and we got the winning score. So, you know, credit to leaving them play and leaving them get a game, and because it means so much to the local area. It would have been a big loss if they weren't playing. So
the game went to extra time, I take it. Was it nerve-wracking on that side of it? Is it a game that you could have won in normal time?
It was tight. It was point for point all the way. I think we were about 2 or 3 points down at half time, but we were playing into a bit of a wind, all right. We knew in the second half, if we pushed up a bit, we'd be a little bit better, but the crowd that we were playing, Kilcar, you know, credit to them, they played extra time as well yesterday, so they came out again today, and they didn't drop at all. Not 1% did they drop, even in extra time. They were very, very hard, very impressive team, very impressive.
And Tomas, finally, what does it mean to yourself and to the Gaeltacht team and management, I suppose, to have the bragging rights for Gaeltacht teams winning that competition?
It's huge. Like I don't know, do any other clubs realise how big it is for us, you know? Like even being walking around in the parade before the game there, and you just have a couple of seconds to yourself to look around, and you see all the people, you know, who are stuck in the club, and they do so many things, from even selling lotto tickets to just organising small things, and it's for them more than anything, really, because they put their heart and soul into it every day, and if you didn't have volunteers working in the club, you could forget about it. So only for them now. So happy for them. I'm so happy for them.
Good stuff. Tomas, we'll leave you go and enjoy the celebration, and well done from all of us here on Terrace Talk. Likewise, our listeners out there, I'm sure they're delighted that the Kerry team won. Well done.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah.
Great stuff. And of course, that's Tomas McIntyre, the netminder for Gaeltacht. They won that competition, and delighted to have the bragging rights for all those Gaeltacht areas. John Kennedy, you're still with us, and those comments coming through to us. Congrats to the Kerry team on their win, and that comes from Alex Murphy from Valencia. Mike Allen from Fiery said thinks that Jack Sherwood had a great first half, which you actually alluded to, John Kennedy. And was he injured that he didn't come out for the second? Yeah, I think Peter mentioned that during the interview, the post-match interview. I was watching the Gaeltacht versus Kilcara game today, and there was a red and a yellow card given out to players, and also on Saturday the Kerry team players got a lot of cards. What did the panel think of the refs' choices of giving out all these cards? Of course, we've seen a few of those in Innis, of course, 2 yellows that made the red, and the black cards, which I suppose have huge impact in the game, John.
Yeah, huge impact, and to be fair to the ref on Saturday night, Tim, I thought he got most of the calls right. The question mark, even Michael Constantine alluded to it there, I think, about David Mona's black card, I thought was harsh. But look, generally, I thought he did well in difficult conditions now, we'd have to say. Very slippery, you know, and, you know, you could be blowing all day and giving cards, but I thought he used common sense, he let the game flow, and the cards that he gave, I think they were merited.
Another comment, where was Kevin McCarthy on Saturday? He wasn't a sub either, a great strong player, and it comes from Terrace. I take it Kevin is injured because he would automatically be on that Kerry panel, John.
Yeah, I presumed him. Look, the guys that weren't there, there seems to be a lot of niggling injuries in the camp, you know, and like McAllen alluded.
Why is that such a problem, John, all these injuries?
It's hard to know, Tim. It's a lot of hard training, a lot of games, I suppose, and McAllen alluded there, Jack Sherwood, the rumour is that he has it was a precaution with a hamstring injury. James O'Donoghue apparently has a hamstring problem. You know, we could afford not to get any more injuries and get these guys right for a Munster final, because we certainly need a full deck.
Yeah, definitely so. And another comment coming through to us during the commentary on Saturday, the Kerry versus Clare game, Ambrose suggested the ref blow the whistle and finish the game during the big clash. That Clare wouldn't be able to catch Kerry anyway. I found that very insulting to the Clare team. Actually, I'll have to defend Ambrose on this one because you were beside us actually when we were doing the commentary. It was more to do with the welfare. Because he was shocked that the player was down so long, and the game was as good as over. And I know there was a flow in the game, as we described it earlier, John. But it was Sean O'Shea came to his feet, and thankfully he was able to walk to the sideline without any help. And that was the wise thing to do, to bring him off. And that was best practice. But with the other player, it was a bit shocking to see a player down and not much movement. And we have seen games in the past, John, the whistle has blown and the game is abandoned because the medics were brilliant, but I don't think Ambrose wanted to give the advantage to Kerry. It was purely for the welfare of the player.
No, absolutely, the welfare of the player, Tim, because there was all around the stadium there was a fear for the player. When you see players down, motionless, a lot of medical people around calling for stretchers, a lot of panic on the sideline in front of us. It's worrying. It's something you don't want to be looking at.
And we were worried in the commentary box.
Absolutely.
Because we were 11 minutes and we were chatting and we're looking down, and when you don't see it, it's not pretty when you see all medics around. And the referee actually on Saturday, and fair play to him, he may not have had the best of games, during the course of play, but when that happened, he was straight on it and straight point to the sideline, like he didn't waste a second. No, so you have to commend the referee on that.
Absolutely, Tim. And regardless whether it is the opposition player or your own player, you don't want to see any injury. That's the last thing you want to see, and certainly serious injuries. And Peter Kane pulled his team to the sideline. It affects everybody, whether your teammate is down or one of the opposition is down. Serious injuries are not a spectacle, and that's something you don't want to see. And you have to give huge credit to the officials and to the medical people for the way they dealt with it, both for Sean O'Shea and for Kevin Hartnett.
Great stuff. We'll now take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry, brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie, leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk, and I still have John Kennedy in studio, and now we have also been joined by a former Wexford hurler, and he's been on Terrace Talk before. He's one of our own now because he's living back in West Kerry, and it's Diarmuid Ling. Diarmuid, you're very welcome once again to Terrace Talk.
Thanks very much, Tim.
You haven't moved back. The last conversation we had that maybe it might be time to move. You're down here for good. Tell me the truth.
Yeah. I'm kind of. I thought I was stirring back east, but I only got as far as down the Scoil. I couldn't get off the Dingle Peninsula, to be honest, Tim. There was just too much there for me, so I stayed on. And at the final of the Comórtas Pella in Yov.
You covered. Yeah, you were there.
I was just went to it, yeah, and I know why I stay when I go. I mean, it's the same. I was looking at it too. I have a young son now, and I forget because I was involved in the GA in a very specific.
Is he born in Kerry?
He was born in Kerry.
Oh, he's down here. He's here to stay.
Well, I was born in Kerry too, would you believe, in Tralee, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and in the hospital, they pulled it down not long afterwards.
So you could have played centre-back, centre-forward and midfield for the Kerry hurlers?
For the Kerry hurlers, yeah. It's often said about the footballers, but yeah, not that, definitely. Maybe the hurlers, all right. But yeah, I see when I go back there why... the value of it,
Has he been presented with a Kerry jersey yet?
He hasn't yet.
Oh,
he's gotten 3 or 4 hurls now, all right.
Eamon Hicks will be making his way to your abode this evening.
He'll be most welcome because, just the how family oriented those occasions, and their occasions, they're just phenomenal.
Was it a success, this competition back in West Kerry?
I mean, I don't know what you term a success by. I guess in one sense people look in from the outside and they'll use the metrics of numbers, but you couldn't unless you were down in Gallerus, unless you were there, I suppose, and you see the strength of what's going through everybody in terms of that competition, it's just how they feel about it, and what it brings, that everybody in the crowd speaking Irish together, and whether you're afraid of your life of Irish or not, you can't but be totally drawn in by it, hearing people shouting abuse in Irish, it's just it doesn't sound nearly as bad as when it's in English. It's lovely.
And how does that sit with you, the big ball game? You were a man that was brought up with the small ball. Is there an attraction there?
Oh, there is huge. I mean, definitely from watching Kieran all the years. And I was invited into the Wexford panel football a few times myself, and I played with a senior football club in Wexford, so it was never too far away. I found when my fitness was very, very good, I was just more suited to going back into football once the hurling was finished. But that was always the attitude, was when the hurling was finished, and I think it would have been probably kind of disrespectful to the fellas who were at it all the time to think you could just go back in based on fitness. There's so much. It's often said that there's far more skills in the game of hurling, but I mean, to run, as you both know, like to run on across the 45, kick left or right with somebody on top of you is a skill in itself. Kicking straight forward is a skill in itself. Like the skill of kicking is like so varied that there's every bit as much. Now I'm not as gone on the game of football as I used to be. I used to love it a little bit more when there was a little bit more room for freedom of expression, particularly in the inside line to the marquee players who really you paid the money to see. Like that's what I wanted to see.
They're suffocated in today's game.
That suffocation makes it a little bit less enjoyable because there's a little less magic on show, I think, at times. But it is what it is. It's developing, I suppose. So the different systems are working at the moment on shutting things down. And I think, as I see, I suppose Dublin and I think Kerry are probably going that way too, trying to open back up. They're getting a bit. I think to me, it's been braver, and that's not very popular amongst the people who think it's a good thing to employ systems and tactics with sweepers and stuff. But to me, I think it's based on fear, and I don't think that's. I think the game is worth an awful lot more than that, you know.
That's probably quite true, John Kennedy, that there's a fear factor, a fear of losing, a fear of everybody in their position, be it management and players themselves, that really we could still stick with predominantly the traditional way, and especially here in Kerry, because we consider ourselves as the purest in football.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'd have to agree with him because, the mindset of managers now and at club and inter-county level is how to stop the opposition. And you're focusing in on taking out, when I say taking out, marking out the marquee players, double or triple marking at times, suffocating the defence so that they can't get ball, and it's the detriment of the game, because as he rightly said, it's all about scoring and it's all about getting your top players on the ball and expressing themselves, and with limited space it's difficult to do that, but that's the way the game has gone. I think the purists don't like it, the supporters certainly don't like it, and we're hoping that it will evolve again, because it does evolve and it will change again.
And we were listening earlier to Michael Considine, John, and you were saying that maybe we may not be as strong as we want to be in the middle of the field, so will Kerry devise a system? We're coming up against a serious Cork midfield in a couple of weeks' time. Is it a case of that I won't say cover over the cracks, but we'll have to devise a system in order to be able to compete with these guys? There's
no doubt. I think we will too. And we went in against Dublin a few years ago there, and Jack Barry, he did a marvellous job, and Brian Fenton. It's on the day. You need competition for places. I think we've tried a lot of players, and when we get to the Munster final against Cork, there's going to be another game after it. It's all about progressing and improving, and we got the result on Saturday night. Look, it wasn't a spectacle really. The first 20 minutes was good. It was a dogfight. Conditions were poor, slippery. But look, championship football is about getting results. It's a results-based business. We're in the Munster final. Who would have said that Cork would have given the drubbing to Limerick that they gave? Limerick beat Tipperary, a fancy tip team. There was a bit of a buzz coming out of Limerick that they had
my challenge,
and they were going. Cork were vulnerable, but since then we've heard Ronan McCarthy that Cork have 5 or 6 or 7 on the trot, won challenge games against Galway and Dublin. While you mightn't read much into it, winning, it's a habit. And 318. The Hurleys and the Rory Deans and the Paul Kerrigans and all these guys, these are good footballers. And Cork football, we need Cork football going well in Munster. We need them to be competitive, and certainly Kerry need them, but I think the game needs them, and it's great to see.
Just not to be better. Just not to be better, to be competitive. But I wonder about that, because I saw Peter Keane said after that, he was talking about how it says obviously a results-driven business and it's about getting the win, but just I suppose where sport has gone when you look at culture creation within a team, like I don't know, is that necessarily enough anymore? And I think nowhere near would you see that more than with Brian Cody and Kilkenny. Like after every game, all he was interested in was the genuineness of their effort and the spirit that they showed. And now winning took care of itself after that, once those things were right. And so for Clare to, okay, they weren't really threatening Kerry. The game was probably over for after very early. They were well ahead after half time or coming up to half time. So it's easy to see why you'd allow a team back in, but for Clare to get 7 on the bounce and for Kerry to maybe to go asleep to that level, I think when I listened to Brian Cody speaking about how that how that Kilkenny team operated, it was very much for the spirit to be right. And so for them then, when they went 7 up on Wexford, like, he wanted to put hurling out of our minds for the next year. He wasn't thinking about, okay, well, that's our win. I wasn't thinking in those terms. It was, we take every ounce of our spirit into the next ball. And that was, I think it's the big difference between maybe where Kerry are at now when you've got a young team and where the likes of that Kilkenny team were. Now they're a unique bunch, obviously, but that's where Kerry need to be aiming for, obviously.
And is it true, Dermot, that fear, that word fear, there's a fear by management that you could have the public down on top of you because you didn't get a result, because it seems to be every game now seems to be results driven, and you have the fear of the management, you have the fear of the players, and you mentioned the system there. Players are not allowed to express themselves anymore because we see more hand passing today than we see foot passing in Gaelic football. And the fear of losing possession, because you could say, I could end up on the sideline, I could be up on the bench. So has that crept into the game?
Yeah, and I think it's important to acknowledge it's just crept in. It's definitely not all. There's still plenty of expression. It's not all of one or not, nothing of the other. It's definitely when you hear arguments on economic debates, like if it's not capitalism, it has to be communism. Like if it's not one, it has to be the other. It's not necessarily the way. There is aspects of freedom definitely still there, but I definitely think it has crept in, and you've got the answer, the question and the answer in the one question there, because the fear that's coming in is based on the results-driven business, this idea of looking at the outcome. The result is the outcome, and if you're just looking at the outcome, that's what you're going to serve. And at the start of a game, the outcome is so unknown and so unknowable, because there's a million different things about to happen, and things that you can't control and things that you can control. So I think in the GA at times we're a little bit, the fear creeps in on the basis that we feel that we have to win and we have to beat the fellas up the road and we have to be better than them, and sometimes that is actually that doesn't allow for performance, because it can hold you up in fearing that. And it's often happened, Jeannie, I've played in games where you go 5 or 6 points up, like I remember going, I think 7 points up against that Kilkenny team in 2005 in the Leinster final, and all I was thinking was, it was 25 minutes gone and we were 7 up, and I was thinking, okay, I'm ready to go home now. I was looking at the scoreboard. I was, bring everybody back. Or you're starting to think about and start to fear the result, as opposed to just milling on, and like getting more, looking for more. Why not take more?
Still in the player.
I think it is, yeah. I think it's very difficult, and I couldn't even begin to say how to do it, because it's such a, like, what's the word that's used, and I can't really stand to even use it myself, but the process is all we hear about now, and from coaches to come out, the process is so important, and this perfection of preparation and cleaning up the dressing room after game, like excellence in everything creates this culture, and sometimes that's an excellence in everything that serves ultimately winning too. So it's multifaceted. And I think that, whoever cracks that one, and I think Jim Gavin has done a fair job of it. Brian Cody before him, unquestionably as well. Once you crack that, like you're into a bit of magic, like where something can really, really develop.
Johnny, just like have we too much of a scientific approach today in games that we mentioned? The All Blacks were one. This team that set out that whoever managed them, that after a training session they go in, they clean. No job was too low for you. They went in, they cleaned the dressing rooms, and it was about respect for yourself, respect for everybody else. But are we using too much science in today's game?
I think if you look at the top managers, like Jim said there, Brian Cody in hurling, look, Mick O'Dwyer in football, Kevin Heffernan, they let players express themselves. They didn't stifle players that hadn't to assist them. Now Jim Gavin has done it with Dublin. You need the talent, number one, but you need to allow these guys to express themselves. And if you're into a system and into a zone and you can't come out of that, or you're hindered by what you can do, you're not going to express yourself. And I think that the top managers have leeway to allow their players to express themselves and to take chances. It's terrible to see a top class forward in Gaelic football or hurling 30 metres out, and he's looking to give it to somebody else because he won't take it on. You take it on and you go for it, and you get the best out of what you are. Success, is it about winning cups and trophies. Success is about getting the best out of what you have. An individual manager can say, I got the best out of the team that I have. I'm with a team at the moment, our own lads at home. If we perform to the best of our ability and we don't win, I'm still happy because we're playing to our maximum. But if you don't perform and get the best out of them, then there's a problem.
It's hard, I'd say, as and I haven't really been in a huge amount of management yet, but it's hard, I think, where sometimes even take it away from the marquee, the forwards and the expression as you know, glorious points from the sideline, that kind of stuff. Like a cornerback, like for his emergence as a player and for his development as both a person and a player, that he's left in and he's on a corner forward who has the speed on him, and he has to learn different techniques to deal with somebody who is faster, more skillful or whatever. And if you put two players back in front of him, he doesn't get to learn those lessons about himself. He doesn't learn by his failings. Instead, it's papered over, and he can continue on to the next game.
And he won't improve.
He won't improve, and so it's how do you create the conditions and how do you let go of the result enough to allow him to learn his lessons, that he becomes the player that he needs to become. I think that's maybe where the next step in it maybe is going. You know,
great stuff, lads. John and Dermot will stay with us. We'll now take a break.
Terrace Talk on Radio Kerry. Brought to you in association with BrianJames.ie, leading the way for stylish menswear in Kerry.
You're very welcome back here to Terrace Talk. I have in studio our own John Kennedy and our own Dermot Ling now. He played hurling with Wexford, but his son was born down. He was born down. He's a Kerry man. He was born here in Tralee himself. Dermot, can I quickly have a quick chat about the hurling championships, especially the Munster? After last year, it was very hard to get to the level. There's such anticipation for each game because, you know, it blew Gaelic football to the side and it was all about hurling. But you'll never get 2 years matching each other. It's not the same level this year?
Yeah, no, it hasn't been so far, definitely. And I think when you program something like I see on the Sunday game at the moment, I mean, there's plenty of good football games on, definitely, and there's hurling on in all the live games are hurling. And then when it comes to the Sunday game, the first two games that they're showing are the games that were shown that day. And I think it's this expectation that the hurling is going to be, you know, bigger and better. And sometimes when that expectation is there, it's the thing that actually disallows the greatness to come true. You know, we're all just waiting for it to happen, and it hasn't quite. I mean, when you've got competitive games, I mean, and Comórta Spella in the final there wasn't probably the best stuff in the world, but at the end it was the excitement. And when you've got two big one-sided games in big gaps in talent, even though Clare looked like they were, you know, a lot of people were tipping Clare early on, and after what Tipperary did to them yesterday,
Tipperary have a swagger about them at the minute. I'd question what it's based on in a way, because I don't know why, if Liam Sheedy comes back in, I don't know, management set up, I don't know how to quantify that. It's not nice to go back.
Well, what I would imagine is that I know when I played, and I can only really go on that, is when I played, I wanted the best out of myself every day, and I wanted to mark the best, and I wanted to play against the best, and I wanted to be at my best. And so that seemed to carry me through in a lot of games where we didn't perform as a team, for example. And I don't know why a manager is there and the performances are not, and then a new man comes in and the performances are there. Some part of that is obviously to do with the capabilities of management. Liam Sheedy's obviously an incredibly organised man and someone that they greatly respect. But I would question, when it comes down to the last couple of minutes of an All-Ireland final and you have to draw on something that's not the manager, it's not from anybody outside, it's not Eamon O'Shea, it's going to be something within themselves, how they could let themselves slide so much. I mean, it's fine to go down from 90, 92, 93% down to 85% on a day, but to go from 90%, which is what they were at 3 years ago, to last year being at 40% of their capability, doesn't really make that much sense, you know. So I'd question it a little bit, definitely.
To bring John in, John, remember back to last night, and it was one of the things, there was an event back in camp honouring two great players, Tommy Doyle and Dr. Sean Murphy from the 50s. But the one thing, I don't know, one of the panel said it last night, that Tommy Doyle would ask Mick O'Dwyer, he wanted to mark the best player on the opposition each time. Yeah. And that's something that Dermot alluded to there.
That's a mental toughness as well, that you're ready for any opposition that comes at you. And, you know, to go back to Tipperary there, like he seems to have rejuvenated the likes of Bonner Maher and Seamus Canlan and the other Mahers, you know, and the McGraths. They're firing in all cylinders, and it just goes to show the power of Liam Sheedy, like, because Tipperary were a pale shadow themselves last year, and, you know, 3 wins in the trot, and I think yesterday was a real big test, because a lot of people
Ennis is a tough place to go.
Went to Ennis against Clare, and, you know, they came out with all guns blazing, and certainly they're up there now with the best.
Dermot, this word, retreat, they're happening, and it's under your guidance.
Yeah, well, it stems from this. I mean, this was definitely my world for a huge amount of time. The games, like, you know, and what happened in the games and how they went and what were the moments of the games and who were the characters of the games and how everything fell in the way that it fell. Kilkenny's great dominance, or watching Kerry football when I was a young fellow, whatever. But I've become, I think, since I've retired, a little bit more interested in some of the people who we lose to the GAA when they don't have that aggressive competitive edge. Even as young people, maybe they're a little bit more artistic, maybe they're a little bit more creative, and sometimes we can drive them away a little bit, I think, out of the GAA. And I found, since kind of dealing with those people more and putting a hurl in their hand, Kerry people who've never played, or I had on one of the retreats last year, a 65-year-old woman who was a teacher in my school in Wexford. She came down and never had a hurl in her hand, or never had anything to do with it, or never liked it. But seeing actually when the ash and the leather connect, and there's that perfect flow that comes from that perfect feeling, like a kick, the perfect shape on a kick, there's just a feeling that you get from it. And to elicit that joy in people who've never done it, or never gotten the chance to play since they were young, has been, it's as enjoyable now for me as it is poking around with somebody who, someone who's very capable.
So, dear, when John Kennedy and I sign up tonight for this retreat,
God, great.
What is our expectation, or what will you deliver?
Wildness. Wild hurling, wild food, wild swimming, climbing mountains, kind of reconnecting. Sometimes when I played, I noticed that I actually had to shut down my body a lot. I was like, even though it was all body intelligence that I was working off, the messages that were coming from my body were kind of saying, maybe you're too tired here, maybe you need to take a week off, maybe you need to take a break, maybe you need to go off somewhere for yourself and sort a few things out, but you couldn't do it, so you'd shut the messages down. So this is much more about actually connecting to your body, listening to what your body is saying and moving with it and trying to understand it.
And quickly, Jim, how does it work and when is it on?
So from 20 on Corp Creana, it's called. It's an Irish language retreat. Like, there's a huge fear around the Irish language. I mean, Kerry is one of the homes of it, obviously.
How are we going to survive?
You're going to survive by remembering. It's a remembering of what's inside you, as opposed to having to learn from the outside. It's like outdoor classrooms of Irish. It's not inside, it's not Mochaneelic, it's not grammar. It's just out and being in the elements and inviting the language to come through you more than to take it in from the outside. And I found it myself in 3 days in West Kerry. 3 days it took me to get back to the language. So I know it's doable for anybody. So we run these retreats 3 days, Friday to a Sunday, 28th to the 30th of June on Corp Creana, the Wise Body. A mix of Irish language and wild sport.
John Kenny thinks I'm joking when I'm asking him to come along, but could we get something out of it?
Well, what do you think, John, listening to it?
It sounds very interesting, Dermot, to be honest with you. And I think we've spoken about this, Tim and myself, a number of occasions. We're proud of where we come from, and we should certainly be proud of our heritage and certainly of our language. And it's something that I think that it's everybody should aspire to.
And sometimes with our games, I think too, it's like this 20 to 30 year old experience, and like at 40, 45, 50, like you just go to a beach, throw down a couple of cones, play a moderated game, and just have people move, and it's fitness, it's joy, it's True Irish is one part of it, but it's just an experience of playing, where you're not totally and utterly besotted. There has to be all of these rules, or insurance and all of this stuff. Oh, it has to be careful, but it doesn't. Like, we can just go to the beach and we can play, because, well, why couldn't we? Where are the roots of our game? The roots in our game are out in wild fields around the country. Yeah,
I love that. And just quickly, Dermot, if people want to get on board and do this,
just contact wildirishretreat.com. There's a website there, and just contact there, or contact me at dearmidling@gmail.com. I'd happily field any
I think after tonight, Dermot, I know your term was short here tonight. I think there will be a huge take up on that, and
we might get you along for a show there, Tim. Maybe you could do a live broadcast,
show,
from Clare Beach.
John Kennedy might be a transformation of your team as well. Bring them along to this, and they'll find, and it comes from the inner self, not the other. I think it's brilliant and a great idea, and there's no age
No,
You're
think
not ageist.
A mix of the age is more important.
Brilliant.
16-year-olds and up to 60-year-olds. I think that mix has actually gone from society more and more, and I think it's a really important thing to have them mixing, because there's the youthful enthusiasm mixed with that.
We'll all have it. Great stuff, Jim. We're running out. John Kenny, as always, thanks a million. Thanks for the weekend. You were brilliant last night. Likewise on Saturday evening. Dermot, many success to you, and maybe you might have one or two signing up before we leave the studio tonight. That record we were on about earlier, the record set on Saturday evening in Cusack Park, was by Tommy Walsh. It was 10 years between consecutive championship games at senior inter-county level. His last game in championship came in 2009. And of course that was against Cork, and that record was sent in by a West Kerry listener, and brilliant. And well, they had their stats and they knew what it was all about. Many thanks to everybody who contributed this evening, and likewise to Eamon Hickson who produced. And until next time, this is Tim Moynihan saying goodbye.